BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
This is the Yungblud podcast. Turn up that volume, baby. Happy! Each week I talk to one of you at home about something that's going on in your life. It's almost been a year since we've been living with COVID. That is so crazy. It's legitimately turned our lives upside down. I can't believe how long this feels. I was literally talking to my friend who I'd seen a year ago, and it feels like 5 years. It's absolutely crazy. My guest this week has been living with the impact of COVID for a whole year. Amy's 21, she's British and grew up in France. As a child, she suffered with anxiety and panic disorder. In February last year, she started having difficulty breathing, and she went to hospital multiple times, and over the months, doctors kept telling her it was panic disorder, and a lot of it was in her head. In August, she was finally diagnosed with COVID and spent weeks in hospital. She's still suffering the side effects, but she has such an incredible attitude. I can't wait for you to hear this. Obviously, bad language as always. So here's me chatting to Amy about the year she has had. Let's go. Yo, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you crystal clear. I am so excited to have Amy on the podcast. So you were very anxious as a child, right? You were diagnosed with panic disorder.
Yeah, all through kind of school, through primary school and I suppose secondary school in the UK, always panic attacks, things like that. It took me a long time to kind of figure out how to deal with that, but I got there in the end.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's such a strange thing. It's like the most bizarre thing in the world. I will talk about this till probably the day I'm in a box. You know what I'm saying? How surreal anxiety and kind of panicking and how it comes over you. It's literally unworldly. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of inexplainable. And it was so interesting to me, your story, because I think it's so easy for people to not take it seriously. I think there's so many levels of anxiety and panic attacks and panic disorder that people kind of box in and just go, okay, cool, this is the formula for that. You do this and you will be all right. When it's literally like an onion. There's like millions of layers to it.
I think there's kind of like a bit of both, because when it's things like panic disorder and school, people tend to underestimate it a lot. But then I've actually found that this year it's kind of been the other way around. People overestimating what it can do. It's really a bit of both in my experience anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you were diagnosed with long COVID after a long process of shouting, I am not okay, there is something wrong with me, and a lot of people ignoring you. When did you start feeling ill?
So it started in March last year. I started having just a bit of breathing problems, nothing really extreme. It was the week actually before our first lockdown in France. And so it just kind of passed, went away. I did have a COVID test then, which was negative. And then about a month later in June, I started having like really bad breathing problems really suddenly. Just one morning I was at work with mum. And it just kind of escalated from there. I continued to not be able to breathe properly for the next, I suppose, 3 months really, until I got diagnosed. Couldn't eat anything. I lost about 12 kilos.
Whoa.
Yeah, just really tired all the time, and no one would, not only did no one not know what was happening, but no one would take it seriously. They're kind of like, oh, you're just stressed, and oh, you're just this, and lots of justs. I actually got hospitalised eventually, and then I came across this particular doctor who, again, told me it was all in my head, it's anxiety, and he actually made me see the hospital psychologist, who told him it wasn't in my head, and he ended up sending me to a psychiatric hospital. Anyway, and yeah, exactly. And so luckily, very luckily, the psychiatrist that I saw realised very quickly that it wasn't in my head, tried to call him, get him to take me back in, wouldn't do it. So that was probably the hardest moment in it, because when someone says to you, okay, you're going to go to a psychiatric hospital, and you're like, is it in my head? You start questioning.
You start questioning yourself. Yeah, you start feeling like you are crazy. But to cut a long story short, you weren't crazy. You had long COVID. Yeah. You had coronavirus. And as you had been saying for months, I am not well. What was it kind of like figuring out that you had that? Because obviously panic disorder, you've had that your whole life, and then you figure out you have a virus that is all over the media, that has been blown up and is severely dangerous. How was that to kind of handle?
Well, it was kind of weird the way it happened, because I'd been in hospital, a different hospital, for a week before I got the actual diagnosis. And the night before, I mean, I've had a full-on mental breakdown. I just got to that point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Full-on, like, 5-hour panic attack, not okay at all. Just thought I was just really hopeless. Like, I'm never going to see the end of this. No one's ever going to believe me. And then actually the next day is when I got diagnosed. So it's kind of like poetic in a really strange way.
Yeah. It's always that, man. You kind of preempt something, and then the kind of the answer becomes clear.
Yeah, so I actually wasn't that bothered that it was COVID, to be honest. I was just happy to know that I wasn't crazy at that point.
Yeah, dude, I mean, I can literally imagine that. I think, like, we know our bodies a lot more than people may think. It's not, you don't have to be mature to realise that something's wrong. You don't have to be 56 to know that there's something wrong in your body. And I think never be afraid to tell people if you feel like there is something wrong in your body. How was having coronavirus? How was having long COVID? How is having long COVID?
It's probably the hardest, well, last year was probably the hardest year I've ever had to do, because it feels like someone's sitting on your chest all the time. Yeah. And that feeling has subsided now. That's a lot better. But for 3 months, that's what it was like. You can never get a full breath, always feeling short of breath, always feeling dizzy, tired, because nothing's working the way it should.
Well, I'm so sorry, man. That, yeah, I could not imagine that, because I have bad asthma. Luckily I've not had it yet. My dad had it, and he's got asthma as well, but my dad got it really bad, and he was literally like, it's like you're having an asthma attack for 3 weeks.
Yeah. And
I was like, that freaks me out. Like, I have anxiety, but if I have an asthma attack, I hate, like, it's usually in bed. Usually I'll kind of wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, where's my inhaler? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, no, because I had asthma as well before. I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, it's like, imagine that for 3 months.
Yeah, how's your health now? Is it getting a little bit better?
It's really baby steps, because when I came out of hospital, I'd basically been lying down, couldn't move for about 3-4 months at that point. And even just getting up, walking upstairs, my heart rate would go up like over 200 beats a minute.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it was a really long time. I started just by walking like to the end of the road and back, and that was like hard. And then eventually I just built it up and up into like running and exercise again. And yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm waiting in hope of a vaccination.
Yeah, touch wood. I mean, I think we do have to take this vaccine so seriously. I think everyone should get vaccinated. I know there's like a lot of crazy conspiracy theories around it, but as I say, like, I think it should be part of, like, eventually, hopefully, this is a page in a history book where you kind of 13 and in school and you're getting, or whatever, 12 and in school and you're getting your jabs and you're getting your COVID jab as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think everyone should get vaccinated. I think it's so important
Definitely.
to kind of, as young people go, that we are not invincible. You,
exactly.
You as an example. You're 21, right?
Yeah, 21. And apart from, I mean, asthma, I say I have asthma. Even then, I very rarely had asthma attacks. I was, fit, doing exercise, and it just literally floored me. And it scares me, because I see so many young people going around acting, and I was like that. It's kind of karma's come and bit me on the arse, really. But I was like that because I was like, we're young, we're COVID free, if you will, or even if we get it, it won't be that bad. Well, it is that bad. So don't take any risks with it. It's not fun.
I think that's it. I think when we can get a vaccine, go get vaccinated. Just for the sake of other people as well. You know what I'm saying? Yourself and other people. Just so we can all kind of hopefully find some part of normality again, where we can just kind of like... Because I think the thing about it is, if I wasn't vaccinated, I would be in an Uber in 2 years. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think the lack of fear to be able to touch a surface and to get on a bus and to get in an Uber and to meet people in a club or in a nightclub or in a venue or get in a mosh pit, to have that fear in the back of your mind disintegrated is going to be such a wonderful thing.
I know. It seems like a distant memory, seeing people and going places. And I've not seen anyone really except my parents, because I'm supposed to be kind of making sure I don't get it again.
Yeah, 100%. So obviously, like you said earlier, that like 2020 was kind of one of the hardest years of your life. Out of hard times, you learn a lot. Yeah. What did 2020 teach you?
I mean, so two of my closest friends, so Phoebe and James, I was speaking to Phoebe a few nights ago, actually, because I called her. No, I called her, and I texted her and I was like, look, I'm feeling a bit down. Can you call me, cheer me up? And we were talking about it, and we were just saying kind of, despite everything that's happened, I wouldn't want anything to have happened differently, because through it all, as horrible as it was, I've really, first of all, I've become a lot closer with all of my friends, and I've learned really who cares about me. My family have been there the whole time. My closest friends have looked after me so well.
So cute.
And it's not even just that, just like appreciating stuff that I didn't appreciate before. And that's actually what I found the hardest, is I've got this, it's going to sound like such a hippie thing to say, but like a newfound appreciation for everything. I just want to go out and do stuff. But the hardest thing is you can't. We're still stuck in this moment where you can't. And that's the worst bit.
100%. I think, as I say, out of that pain, it feels like the most awful thing in the world at the time, no matter what, like illness, heartbreak, loss, anxiety, pain. But you kind of look back on it and go, wow, I learned so much. That just made me a lot more of a person I am. Like, and yeah, that sounds so hippie. Like, yeah, man, I'm like a better person now, man. But like, it's like not even capping. It does, man. It literally, it rearranges your organs into a place where they sit. I always think about that. It's such a weird image, but I think like your insides when you're born completely get rearranged because of you kind of take punches at them and then they get rearranged and then you kind of go, okay, this is how I can live now. This feels right now, you know? Yeah. Like, you're studying psychology, right? You're a psychology student.
Yeah.
I love that, man. Change them perceptions. change that stuff so when people come and see you, you don't just put them in a psych ward. You don't go, it's all in your head. You can kind of get into that. I think that's so
definitely
inspiring. Listen, I'll definitely come and see you when I'm going around the bend, which is about 5 times a week. Thank you so much, Ames, for coming on. I hope this helps a lot of you. It certainly helped me. You're a complete rock star.
Thank you.
Vibrations. Bye, Ames. See you later. I am so impressed at how Amy can take just a shitty year and learn and grow from it. It's so important to remember that there's still vulnerable people around. So I think until we're all vaccinated, think about others, think about the space, think about yourselves, think about your families. As always, if you want any further info or support, you can check out the BBC Action Line. I cannot wait to see you all next week. I love you. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Peace and love.